Hey YouTube, Jobin here. Gonna take a look at a rather disappointing knife today. I guess we could consider this an episode of my occasionally made series Terrible Knives, where for entertainment value and education we look at some of the most disappointing knives I've ever bought. When I started that, the idea was to try to, make it kind of punchy and entertaining. I can't really muster up like anger or witticism. This knife just sort of depresses me a little bit because they weren't even trying. This is the Y-Start. I honestly can't remember if that's the name of the knife or the name of the company. Let's take a look. This is an inexpensive knife from a Chinese company, and this depresses me as someone who is, besides selling them to earn my living, a bit of a fan of some of the better Chinese knives. This is everything people think of when they say Chinese knives suck. It's just kinda lame. Let's go through it point by point, as briefly as I can, but trying to get everything in. Now, first off, the appearance. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's not bad. It looks sort of high-tech-ish, kind of thing SOG might make. And it doesn't flip out, and it flicks out pretty nicely. All right. The problems start to show up when we go into a using grip. And that's because this cool-looking handle around the perimeter of the entire knife, there is 3 ridges. One from the liner, and 2 that are machined into the G10. And they're kind of sharp. And the overall shape is not... Well, actually, I guess the idea was your index finger goes here, and your ring finger goes there. That's not terrible. Doesn't leave you much place to put your thumb, though. How's that supposed to work? I don't know. But let's see, moving on to the problems, or further problems. Screw missing right from the factory. Fantastic, good job. The pocket clip is pretty wiggly for your convenience. This is one of those deep carry designs that like goes over the knife and is secured by a single screw. I have seen this on some high-end knives, and maybe it would work with higher quality materials and closer tolerances, but here it just doesn't. It doesn't even really matter how tight you put the screw, the clip's gonna wiggle. And probably bend. The lanyard hole is in a sort of awkward position. Don't really like that. If you actually put a lanyard through it, the loop would be like sticking into your palm when you held the knife. When you open the knife solidly like this, you can actually feel the lock bar vibrate, because it's quite thin and it sort of buzzes a little bit like a tuning fork. I doubt my camera will pick it up, but you can feel it when you're holding the knife in your hand. And there is indeed vertical blade play. A little bit of horizontal too, but not too bad. Now, in fairness to the knife, I'll say whoever put the edge on this didn't do a bad job. It's not particularly sharp, but I have seen much more uneven and messier grinds on much higher end knives. Heck, one of my Sprint Run Spydercos came with a messy blade grind. But that brings me to another thing. If you collect knives for long enough, or if you're like me and you retail them, you eventually start to notice that you can't judge a knife company or even a particular design based on one example. Lemons happen. A knife might come through with a problem, and almost all of the others produced that model will be fine. But with this one, it's just there's nothing even remotely good about this knife. Sort of brings me back to my earlier statement. They just didn't care. It's a thoroughly uninteresting, disappointing quality knife that, sure, it's not expensive, but there are so many better options out there. I mean, you know, some people will say you can't get a good knife for under $100 or $50 or $20 or whatever their personal threshold is. Or you can't get a good knife from China, which I would say, check. And mate. You know, you can. You can get a useful working knife for a low price, and you can get good knives from China. You know, you can get good knives from anywhere. You can get bad knives from the USA. That's sort of a pet peeve of mine. But anyway, so that's it. I sort of run out of things to say. As far as I'm concerned, Y-Start is a no-go. So, that's it, folks. You have a good day, and remember where your knife is, and try not to make it a crappy one.